Cookie Monster? Nope, an Insomniac, by EchosChaosCreations. While rubbing the sleep from his eyes, Izuku stepped out of his dorm room, making sure he closed the door behind him silently unless he wanted to face the wrath of Aizawa-sensei. Izuku had been having some problems sleeping, so he consulted Bakugo about it, a sleep enjoyer, and he just told him to close his eyes. Then he called him a moron and left. Sadly, that hadn't worked, so here he was, roaming the halls to find the kitchen for some apples and peanut butter he'd been craving. He didn't know why, but whatever. As Izuku neared the kitchen, he realized the light was on, and he swiftly pressed himself against the wall in case there was danger. Izuku peeked his head out only to see Shinso. He sighed in relief, walking forward. Only then did he notice that the purple-haired Insomniac was sitting crisscross on the island counter, holding a large mixing bowl in his lap as he licked the spatula facing the oven. Shinso? He fidgeted with his hands and took a step forward hesitantly, unsure if Shinso was actually Shinso. A skinwalker, maybe? Shinso's head snapped around and looked him dead in the eyes with a bored expression, causing Izuku's eyes to widen. At least he wasn't a skinwalker. What are you doing? Izuku glanced at the bowl in his lap, cocking an eyebrow. Izuku looked from Shinso to the oven, before looking back to Shinso. Cookies, he stated plainly, taking a lick from the spatula. Why are you making cookies? It's... Izuku glanced over to the oven clock. 3 a.m. Shinso licked the spatula with slightly narrowed eyebrows. I wanted cookies. At 3 in the morning. Concern etched Izuku's features. Has Aizawa-sensei taken him to get checked out yet? I've learned not to question how my mind works, he answered with a shrug. Shinso looked into the mixing bowl before twisting backwards in an awkward angle. He opened the utensil drawer, grabbing a spoon. Want some cookie batter? He asked, offering Izuku the spoon. Sure, why not? Izuku took the offered spoon, apple craving now forgotten. He licked into the bowl before taking a scoop of batter. Chocolate chip, a classic. So, Izuku started, walking over to the oven to peer in. How much time is left until they're finished? Probably around 2 or so minutes. He picked up his phone, glancing at the screen. Yeah, 2.5 minutes. Izuku nodded, getting back up from his crouched position and coming back to the counter. Want any more before I wash the bowl, Midoriya? No, thank you. Izuku shook his head with a grateful smile. With a nod, Shinso hopped down from the counter. He grabbed Izuku's spoon, much to Izuku's disliking, before he could try and help. He walked over and stuck them in the sink, washing them with practiced ease. As Shinso finished, Izuku came over, drying and putting the dishes up. The timer for the cookies rang out in a low tone. Finally, Shinso murmured, grabbing the oven mitts. Both of the teens hovered over the oven as Shinso opened it. He grabbed the cookie sheet carefully, pulling it out slowly. Both of them drooled over the smell of cookies, their late-night hunger coming back in full force. What are you two doing? Midoriya let out a squeak, and Shinso jumped, making a couple of cookies slide off the sheet in the process. Izuku's hand went out instinctively, catching the falling cookies, before quickly regretting the decision. Hot, hot, hot! He yelled, juggling them between his hands before dropping them back onto the cookie sheet unceremoniously. Maybe you shouldn't do that, Shinso deadpanned, earning a glare from Izuku. Someone cleared their throat from the doorway as if to point out they were still there, making both teens snap their heads over. Leaning in the kitchen doorway was Aizawa, and neither looked upset, tired, interested, or happy. They had no clue. He was an enigma. Aizawa-sensei, Izuku smiled nervously. The tired man ignored the exclamation, instead raising an eyebrow in question. We're making cookies, Shinso said, placing the cookie sheet on the stovetop as Izuku shook his hands as if to dry them. Well, they're finished now. I see that, Aizawa huffed before coming over to peer at the dishevelled cookies, half of which were crumpled in a pile. Shinso snatched a cookie from the tray, and in turn Izuku took one as well. Aizawa sighed before grabbing one himself. It looks like a magnitude 10 earthquake hit them. But they're good, Izuku protested through a mouthful of cookies. Yeah, but 3 a.m. Really? Shinso smirked, letting out a huff of laughter, and Izuku chuckled along with him. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you next time.